see. Anything else to add about Mr. Mission? Or is this where I use the bracelet? His talent was without compare. So the question is, where do I look? Ew, God, his face. What the fuck? Oh God, is that? Oh, it was! Oh, ho, ho. He was sweating. Here again. Look at that hair. Oh God, yeah. Just appears a right puddle. Woohoo! You're sweating. I wonder why. Sweat much, Mr. Brushel? Yeah, well... A man can't help his glands, you know? It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talent. What? That's ridiculous. Evidence time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. Yes, about his forgery. This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. Oh God. Why the hell did it go black and white? That is all, Your Honor. God, I don't know, his model looks real weird. Everyone, please, everyone. Can we keep this private, please? This is my story, my scoop. Forgery. That's a serious crime. Drew Mission is known as an artist these days. But there were rumours he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art meaning forgery? Drew Mission was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover. Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about... Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumours started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So, are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for... Exactly. Forged evidence, net tidy profit, end quote. Oh. Order, order, order. Why, it's like our victim was living a double life. This is my chance. So, the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation. But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here. But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was, and remains, simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, hey, hey. The only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews. Okay. A weird thing to say. Mr. Brushel, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen. What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you could stand an elephant on it. End quote. In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in that studio from the recap, the trial is over. Apollo, what's he talking about? The cross-examination showed Mr. Brushel didn't have reason or means to poison him. As long as there are no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera. That's what. This next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Brushell, your testimony, please. So the interview. A recap. The only person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. But why? What would be her motus? Motus? I was going to say modus operandi, but I went with motive, and kind of just mixed the words together. A nice testimony, clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Aw, shucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Row Mr. Justice, you may begin your final cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it. The interview, a recap. But that doesn't prove Vera poisoned it. How many times have we heard that one, Hair Forehead? The poison reached its victim via that coffee mug. And from where did that coffee mug come? Coffee come? Not to beat a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in. I'm on it. You need a horse beat? I'm your man. Okay. And you witnessed her pouring the coffee? Of course I didn't witness it. When she came in with that tray, the coffee was already poured and a steaming. Let's not forget the defendant has admitted to pouring the coffee herself. I heard her statement. I poured, I served, and I killed. What? That last part was just a little joke. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case. You're sure about that? Well, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. That explains the smell. One of those candies might have been poisoned. Yet at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee? Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, possibility is there, I can feel it, just maybe not prove it, not yet. A possibility isn't going to cut it, not now. Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a route other than that coffee. What? No! It can't be proven. I do believe our little forehead is growing up. Pity, we like the rash, youthful forehead best. Another hole in this case that needs plug-in before I can prove anything. But first things first, I better uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. On with the cross-examination. This is one where I have to present in, like, certain orders. Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Not one thing? You're sure? Yep, sure as sure can be. Well, with one exception. One exception? What? Journalist Spark Brushell does interview, leave studio. End quote. Oh, he left. Come on. It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still. Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? Just one thing. I mean, Brushell said he saw Drew writing a letter the moment he walked in, and he put that in the mailbox thing. I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. the yellow letter. By which you mean... something other than our witness. Of course. Then tell me. Veromission? Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows it could have been taken from the scene. There we go. This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Brushell just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter. Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true. Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Ah. But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared. Ah yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Mission. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it. I still think this fails to change anything here, Forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. The letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for. Wait, so can I now present the third statement? Whichever one that was. The only thing that touched his lips during the interview was the mug. Oh, there we go. Oh no, I press, and then I... Yeah. You sure about that? No, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling... Yeah. Mint candies! Right, okay, so now... ingested that poison via a route other than the coffee. If the only thing that has to happen is they have to just come into contact with it, then I guess that would work. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing. Damn. You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, Herr Forehead. Not possibilities. We have the tiny frame. That has poison residue on it. Of course, and Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. But what did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him writing a letter, I did. Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume? Of course, which means... that envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp. Ah. As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. What if the back of the stamp was poisoned? In order to use the glue, you have to wet it. By licking the stamp. Wait, really? Not here, you don't. They already have some sort of, like, adhesive on the back of them. Heh. No one worth talking to actually licked stamps in this day and age. He was old-fashioned. Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait, how does that explain the atropine on the rim of the coffee mug? If he licked the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, Oh, so we're going from the other way around. He put the poison onto the mug. Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Mission. Mr. Mission poisoned the coffee mug himself. Ah. Order. But that doesn't... does it? Recall, if you would. Atropine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on that envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. When we presented proof. You have something to add, Mr. Brushell? Uh-oh, his nose is picking up another scent. As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he'd just run out. Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one. Ah, shit. That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poisoned possible. Good show, good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poisoned stamp? That tiny frame. It looks big enough to hold a stamp, to be fair. Yeah, 2 by 2 inches. It's a stamp frame. Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little. That's because it is. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection, so what? Apparently you weren't not as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yeah, a stamp. Yes, a pale bluish... that's also true. A pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atroquinine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying... this was where the stamp was. Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order, order, order! The poison stamp was in this frame? Impossible. Prosecutor Gavin? Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see? What, Mr. Rushell? Please stop jitting around like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too. End quote. So the poison stamp might have been the murder weapon, aimed at him. Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Governor's song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Could come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Misham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail. Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew red letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. When I have evidence, per se, well, things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Misham was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham to the stamp of death. Oh, it was this. Yeah, it was. Sign the papers and send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Shit. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in this envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honour. There it is. In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick lick, gasp, end quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked? He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently thanks to the postal system. Such a splendid imagination you have, Hair Forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I may. So, this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago? Yeah? Is that what you'd have us believe? Really? Well, it is a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope. A stamp that then became the murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well, it was 7 years ago and we don't even know who sent that letter. And your answer is silence, I see. Very well, I move to... It's not nice to pick on the Frau Lane. Clavier. Whoa! What the fuck? That was Christoph. Emma! Oh, okay. It was... okay, never mind. Whew! It was an impression. Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression? Did I sound like him? Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Frau Lane detective? Someone had to come... dig you... wait. Someone had to come dig you all out of the mess you're making of the case. Mess? You know, none of this would happen if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope, easy. Care to explain yourself, Frau Lane detective? Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right? That's right. The poison detection spray. Okay. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Oh. Aha, there it was. Oh my. Oh, I need to click it. Keep forgetting. Click, click. Well, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's atroquinine residue. Well, shit. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past. Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last. Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misham figured it out. Figured what out? He realised that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp. And put his decisive evidence in a frame. Oh. Oh. I like that response. Ah, you're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark Razortooth Brushel, claim this scoop as mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letter. End quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote. I really hate his model, it looks so weird. Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Oh my god. I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. I think the witness is a bad influence on every fucking person in this room. Worked on Apollo, the judge. We just need Clavier to do it. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo. I think we just won. Very well, this court finds the defendant. Oh. Okay. Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor? Gavin? A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets for Gaviner's shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense any other way. It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in Hairforehead's claim. A contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did? Emma explained that he must have realised it was poisoned. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sensed a trap and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why 7 years later did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Ah. Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot? Nonsense. You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself? Yeah, he raises a good point. Shit. While I admit this is all quite shocking, myself, it does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap. That had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo. I don't think we're winning anymore. Yeah, I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you. Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed. What about the atrocanine residue, huh? Oh, I agree. That does seem to be atrocanine quinine residue. But, Hairforehead, it's certainly no stamp. Yeah, but... even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Misham never would have used it. That is all. Oof. Oh my. I believe we come to a conclusion. Again. Apollo? We were wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue. Sometime this year. Mr. Justice? Yes, Your Honor? Let's review the facts, and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Misham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atrocanine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene, on this tiny picture frame. The defences indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it. Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Misham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp. I'm afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defence's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The traces of atrocanine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Misham's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. Ah, a fake clue. Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison's trail is none other than... that the victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug, linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself. Congratulations, you completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger. It makes a good story, I'll give you that. So the fake clue fakes forgeries. Ah, I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? Oh, he isn't the forger. That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap, one forger fell into the trap. That's two forgers, and one of them was a fake. Oh man. I really do love the pursuit theme, it's so good. Order, order, order. So you were telling us that Drew Misham, the victim, was a fake. Well, if he was the fake, who was the real forger? You better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Misham is, or was. If Drew Misham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Misham was himself a forgery. The real forger was... could only be... Vera. There can be only one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than... his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order, order, order. Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you. I kinda agree. I mean, Vera, a forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. The two sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's. If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility, by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well... of course. Fascinating. Vera Misham? You've been paying attention to the trial so far? Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger Drew Misham? Oh damn. Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gabin's face. I'm used to being stared at by Frau Lanes, believe me. Though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes. So it was her. She is the forger. So the forger Drew Misham was you? Oh my god. I like how she only ever does a smiley face. Never mind, it's not a smiley face. Yes, it was me. What? What? Oh my. The court was in an uproar, and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. Thank Christ, my throat is killing me. God, it's 4 AM, what do I do? I mean, I'm done with this session. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is fine. I'll go into a calculator and just see if I should make it 5 parts or 4 parts. 4 parts will be 36 minutes each. Yeah, I'll probably just do that. I'll figure it out. Either way, that is going to be the end of the session. Things are getting real interesting. I only have 5... Oops. Oh no! I didn't save, it's fine. I was scrolling because I thought I had my mouse somewhere else, but I didn't. Whoops. Yeah, we're on the trial ladder, and there's... Well, the trial ladder and then 4 more things. So we've still got a good bit of the case to go. But I am looking forward to where we end up. Yeah, it's getting real interesting. Either way, that is going to be the end of this session. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. And until next time, take care.